The cash flow side of things is probably the thing in any new business where probably the biggest pressure point. You know, you want to grow, you want to double in size. Well, where's the money come to do that? Why am I doing this for someone when I could do this for myself?
That's where the entrepreneur fire in you sort of said, hold on a sec, there's an opportunity here.
And launching a product that was unique to the market that no one else had done, which is I think pivotal if you're starting a new business or brand. It's trying to do something that gives you clear space to operate in.
Australia suffers from this tall poppy syndrome where people will sit back and they see somebody successful or really having a crack at being successful and they just want to chop them down. And I absolutely hate that. We as a society need to just lift everybody, get around everybody. Not to say that everybody has to be an entrepreneur and everybody has to run their own business, but those that are out there and want to have a crack, help them. Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Scottie G Show. Super excited today. Got my good friend Duncan St Baker in the house. He is the managing director and owner of Anthem Workwear. Super excited to hear about Duncan's story, his business journey, his life journey. And Duncan's a good friend of mine. So hopefully there's not going to be too many stories that come up of our past. YouTube might block us. No, we're going to keep it very focused. Super excited to have Duncan on the show. Duncan, welcome.
Thanks for having me, mate. Pleasure.
Can you believe I'm doing a podcast?
I love it. It's awesome. Congratulations. Congratulations. Very cool.
It still feels foreign. It doesn't feel natural yet. I think if we were to talk, a few years ago, the thought of a podcast would just be the furthest thing on our mind. I know you've been on a few podcasts.
I've done a couple of podcasts, yeah. Not in this environment, though. My podcasts have been just over webcam. So It's cool to come into this space where different lighting, I'm actually talking next to the person that's doing the podcast. So, and obviously doing it with the best mate is good fun too. So, very cool.
Well, no, this is a cool little space we've got here. So we've purpose built this for the Scottie G Show. And it's great because we can just leave everything here. We don't have to set up, reset up. Yash and I were talking, my producer, about getting guests on remotely, using different apps that you can use for podcasts to do that, which then adjusts the sound and the video and all that sort of stuff. But I think for my first few shows, why not utilize people I know, here in Melbourne, get a feel for it, improve on it, and keep going from there.
Sure.
So tell us first a little bit about yourself, what you do.
Yeah, so about myself. So married, 2 kids. So my wife, Melissa, I've been with her for 12, or married for 12 or 13 years. She's going to kill me now because I don't know the exact number. 13 years, I think it is. Been together for over 20 years. We've got 2 beautiful children. My daughter, 11, who's your goddaughter?
She sure is.
So she's 11, and she's a beautiful girl, does amazing, loves her art. She's sort of hopefully following my footsteps a little bit. She's got a creative edge to her. And then my son, River, who's 8, loves his sport, is a gamer, probably like your kids, loves that. Amazing kids. So really lucky from that perspective, got a great family, really happy, going well in school and all that sort of stuff, and kids sport as well, very well. And then look, from a business perspective, I've always been in apparel, clothing.
But not workwear, right?
Well, workwear I started my career really at King G in Hard Yakka when I was, it's a long time ago now, in 2005 to start it. I always remember 2005 because that was the year we went to Europe. You and I went on our trip around Europe for 2 months.
No Europe stories?
No. Lots of good memories though. Lots of good memories. So started working for King G in 2005 and worked there which was part of a company called Pacific Brands, which this company doesn't exist anymore, but we're a huge company, and it was quite prestigious to work for that business. The application process was challenging. You had to get psychological testing, and
Is that just because that company was so determined to get the best employee for a particular role?
you had to go and do mathematical tests and maths tests and English tests and always zipper tests and stuff like that. I remember I only just scraped through, and it was funny because Melissa, I'd only met Melissa a year before, and she'd got a job in Sydney, and then she's like, do you want to move there? And that was difficult too, because I'd grown up in Melbourne and had mates here and worked here and and obviously studied here, and so to move interstate was a big challenge in itself. But so she found a job there. She was working for Pacific Brands as well. And then anyway, but he managed to get in there, worked as a product manager, worked in marketing. My background was marketing, worked in various product management roles there, managing essentially every product category they had, whether it was footwear, apparel, some specialist workwear apparel for people working in high-powered electrical environments, things like that. Anyway, and then left there in 2011 to work and start up a brand called Caterpillar, which had a little bit of distribution in Australia, but we saw a big opportunity, and that was essentially a startup business. When we started there, turnover was about $500,000 or something.
When people think Caterpillar, probably think of the heavy machinery, right?
Yeah.
So that is it owned by the same Caterpillar?
No, so it's a license. So it's like there's a global licensee for apparel, and essentially they pay a royalty back to Caterpillar, the machinery company,
To use their logo.
But the products need to be designed with the same philosophy of the machines in mind. So tough, durable, technical, all those sorts of things.
Yep.
So and Caterpillar Inc. or Caterpillar, the main company, are still very involved in the sign-up process of the way you use the logo and the product categories you enter, things like that. So anyway, so we grew that business over a period of time, and then my manager at the time, he moved on actually to another workwear business, which gave me the opportunity to run the company. So I was the GM of Caterpillar for about 6 years and continued to grow that. Grew the distribution into New Zealand. Got it to the point where we had around 450 retail stores across the country.
Wow.
And I was heavily involved in the product development side of things. So I was doing a lot of the briefing of a design team, and I was very aware of the customer, who we were selling to, and we designed products specifically for our market. So Caterpillar, they sell product all over the world, apparel and footwear, but the Australian market's quite unique, particularly because of our warmer climate. In Europe, obviously, you get the really cold climates. You still get hot summers, but it's shorter.
I suppose similar to the car market, right?
Yeah.
You've got motor vehicles that, sell really well in maybe Asia or the US market, and then here in Australia, no good. So obviously the car companies will amend what products are.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So very much the same. And so, our fabrics are different. We're looking to generally stay cooler, as opposed to warmer.
Yep.
So lighter weight fabrics are much more commonly used here.
Yep.
So anyway, I worked on a lot of development, and which gave me the confidence over a period of time to start thinking to myself, well, hey, why am I doing this for someone when I could do this for myself?
Sure.
And
that's where the entrepreneur fire in you sort of said, hold on a sec, there's an opportunity here. And I suppose you're looking at all different products, and you probably saw gaps in the market too.
I did. And I even considered getting, completely out of workwear and doing something completely different. But, I think over that period of time, I was able to, firstly get a really strong understanding of, who the customer was, and, so you see the trends of what's emerging and what's falling away. And I got the experience of seeing what new brands that had come to the market and failed, and maybe some had done well and some hadn't. Got an understanding of why that was. But anyway, it kind of got to the point in my career where, firstly, I had an idea when I launched Anthem. So getting onto Anthem, I had an idea of doing and launching a product that was unique to the market, that no one else had done, which is, I think, a pivotal if you're starting business or brand. It's trying to do something that gives you clear space to operate in. So I had an idea there, and then, I've always wanted to work for myself, and I've always had a dream of having my own brand. And so, timing-wise for me and our family, financially, it made a lot of sense. But then, as I said, also over the period, I was able to gain a lot of industry knowledge and understanding of the customer. So I felt reasonably confident that if I had a bit of a swing at it, that it would be a success. And we're still, we're not a big raging success yet, but we are on that trajectory, and we're going well.
Well, on my side, so I'm seeing Anthem pop up all over the place in construction. I mean, obviously, all my staff here are wearing Anthem Workwear, and they absolutely love it. And that's not a lie just because you're a mate of mine. They actually love it. But the great news is when I am out there and I'm walking down the street and I see a tradie, just picked up his lunch, and he turns around and he's got an Anthem pair of shorts on, or socks, or a t-shirt, or
it's full.
It's great.
It's full. Yeah, it's full. It's, it's gone beyond, when you start a business like this, it's great. Your family, your friends get around you, they support you, and, they buy bits and pieces from you, and that's great. And that really helps you get going. And I think having that support around me, you, Scott, the amount you helped me with not buying things, but helping me out with your warehouse and your truck, and, all those sorts of things where, mates get around you. And I think that's something, if you're starting a business, if you've got that group of people around you that can help you and support you, it's important.
And there are always great stories to look back, those very, very simple beginnings.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Australia suffers from this tall poppy syndrome, where people will sit back and they see somebody successful or really having a crack at being successful, and they just want to chop them down. Yeah. And I absolutely hate that. We as a society need to just lift everybody, get around everybody. Not to say that everybody has to be an entrepreneur and everybody has to run their own business, but those that are out there and want to have a crack, help them.
Yeah,
help them. And if you've got that inkling, and that's part of what this pod is about as well, in terms of people that want to go out there and do something different, or create something, or start their own business, give some courage. You know what I mean? Give some guidance and some courage that it can be done. And your story is going to be one of those stories.
Yeah.
In terms of starting your own business.
Yeah.
So what was the why? What was the real driving why? I mean, yes, you wanted to run your own business, but what was the driving, the real driver behind starting Anthem Workwear?
There were a few. I mean, the first one was I saw an opportunity, and the main, I guess the opportunity I saw was really this. I saw an emerging customer. It's been becoming, the customer group has been getting bigger and bigger over time, and this is this whole. I think, if you're not in trades, or if you're not in around construction and stuff, there's sometimes you speak to people and there's a bit of a perception of tradespeople, and I think it's a bit of an unfair one. But anyway, what I've sort of seen over the period, it's this young emerging customer, this tradie who's really focused on their career, that set goals, they're fit, they go to the gym, they're training every day, they live, like a lot of them live clean, they don't party, they're not drinking.
What, the old smoko, having a sausage roll and a cigarette, is that not happening anymore?
That's, I guess, the tradesperson I was thinking about. And that still exists, that guy and still exists.
Sure.
And that's okay. But I guess so I saw this emerging customer, and where, I felt a lot of other brands were sort of focusing most of their attention on, trying to dress the guy for the weekend or for the pub. I felt like this customer group was not being looked after. And so the idea then came, I want to create something that they can wear to the gym and straight to work.
Interesting.
Anthem came from.
So is that where, like, the breathability and the, obviously a certain products with a little bit of elasticity, so movement, range of motion?
For sure. And so, the mantra of the brand is, for the workout to the work site. And so everything that we create we wanted to work in both environments well. So, from a gym perspective, it's got to move with you. It's got to feel lightweight. It's got to stretch. The waistbands are elastic, so they're comfortable. They move with you. We're using fabrics that stretch. They're antimicrobial, so they don't smell. So, if you're sweating and that sweat dries, it doesn't smell. And it's quick dry, moisture wicking and all those things. So works really well in that environment. But then trying to find the balance of a fabric and a design that then works well in a work environment, which is obviously, you need durability and you want functionality. And usually durability and functionality, when you add that to a product that adds weight, poppets, the fabric, finding a fabric that's durable enough to be workwear, but also to be in the gym at the same time. There's a challenge associated with that. So we spent a lot of time trying to make sure or develop and design fabrics that would work in those environments. So,
and looking cool at the same time. Because let's be honest, because there's a lot of trades out there earning pretty good money. Some trades out there that are doing really, really well. I want to look good too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's probably a change in the market too, because I think back in the day, when you think about it, maybe the older generation, they didn't really care, They wear the busted up t-shirt.
They something functional and durable, and that was it. Yeah. So that's definitely, and our product looks, as I mentioned before, it's trying to develop and design, if you're going to do a product that's going to be unique. And our look and feel from a product perspective, it looks very different. And we have a real sporting edge to the look and feel of our brand. So like a Nike and Adidas, Puma, their brand is quite prevalent on the products that they wear, that they sell, And for us, it was about trying to do that in a way that works in workwear, because in workwear, a lot of product gets embroidered or screen printed. So, you don't want to have your brand so loud and proud that it's flashing with it, somebody who wants to embroider or screen product. So that was a challenge. But anyway, but the other big reason for starting Anthem was, I came out of the first in Victoria. Obviously, for anyone who lived in Victoria through COVID, we had the two major lockdowns, and I started this brand after the first lockdown. And what I really recognized through that period was, I wanted to spend more time with my kids, is what I realized and not that I didn't want to spend time with my kids, but my 9-to-5 job, which wasn't a 9-to-5 job, it was a lot more committed than that. But I wanted to spend more time with my family, and I wanted to create a business that gave me the flexibility to be able to be much more involved in their lives. And, some things that I would never have been able to do in my, when I work for someone is, I'm able to drop kids off every day at school, be involved in their mornings, picking them up every now and then from school.
Flexibility.
All that flexibility, coaching my son's basketball team, being involved.
Priceless.
In footy, yeah. So all of those things. And, I work more now, for myself, but I can choose when I work. And for me, that was another big thing. So,
isn't it amazing how many businesses started during COVID?
Yeah.
So we do have something to thank. Dan, thank you so much. You did something positive.
No, and like I do look back at that time, and whilst it was, I think, a horrible time for a lot of people in Victoria, or around the world, but there was pretty priceless that time we had with our kids, and we probably got on our nerves at times, and it was difficult and whatever and challenging, but
we got handed a fuckload of lemons, and we had to make some lemonade.
That was the positive that came.
That's exactly right. So transitioning from an employee to now an entrepreneur. Okay. So because we see a lot of businesses now where they're always overhead conscious. Okay. So we know if you were to start sitting down, writing up a bit of a brief business plan about a startup, the first things come to mind are staff are going to cost me a fortune. Rent is going to cost me a fortune for a building, insurances, taxes, and all of a sudden it gets a bit mind-boggling. So what a lot of people do, they go down the Amazon path and they say, well, I'll source a product in China, I'll throw it on Amazon and I don't have to set up any of these other things. Okay. Now that's great, but there's a lot of restrictions when you're running a business like that. Not to say there's anything wrong with that style of business. It is just a different way to market. Yeah. Okay. So you're in this position now. All of a sudden, you need stock to sell. Okay. You're not selling a service. You're now selling a product that people need to buy. So this episode of the Scottie G Show is proudly brought to you by Anthem Workwear. Built for performance, designed for movement. Anthem Workwear delivers high quality, durable gear that works as hard as you do. With innovative fabrics and a focus on comfort, our gear is made up for the workout to the worksite. Whether on-site or on the go, trust Anthem Workwear to keep up with the demands of the job, day in, day out. Gear up, get to work. You would have had some initial startup issues. I'm talking maybe capital issues.
So many. Yeah. And look, the main difference, between obviously running your own business and working for somebody is, well, you still have similar pressures in terms, my role. I've always been involved in roles where I've had some sort of connection to sales. Every business is generally selling something. And so there's the pressures that come with that. But working for yourself, I guess the major challenge and the thing that I've enjoyed the most is the amount that I've learned. I think the amount that I've learned over the last 2 or 3 years of trying to run this or getting this business going, I've learned in the last 2 or 3 years is it's an enormous amount in comparison to what I've learned when I work for somebody else. And it's pretty much when you run your own business, the amount of hats you wear from a day-to-day basis. For me, I'm heavily involved in the design process. So that's a big part of my role. I'm heavily involved in marketing. I'm heavily involved in every facet of the business, from whether it be warehousing, purchasing stock, the finance side of it, talk about insurance, the legal side of things, getting trademarks registered, product design registered, all those sorts of things. So.
And when you worked for those other companies, when you went to bed, you weren't thinking about wages. You weren't thinking, where's the money coming from to make sure that I can keep or when's the bash due?
Yeah.
You weren't thinking about those things. All of a sudden running your own business.
Yeah. And look, the cash flow side of things is probably the thing in any new business or any existing business, it's probably the biggest pressure point, I think. You want to grow, you want to double in size. Well, where's the money come to do that? You got to buy the extra inventory to do that. And maybe you got to have extra employees to help support the growth, the shipping of the stock or the marketing of the product or the selling of the product down the road and selecting your supplier too. That's a crucial one. That too. Yeah. So,
because I'm sure you did plenty of research when it comes to, partnering up with certain suppliers and manufacturers and factories.
So definitely did my due diligence, and luckily, from a supplier perspective, I had some existing relationships, not while I was working for the business that I was in, but I had some contacts within Asia. Our product comes out of China predominantly, and we've got some great teams that we work with over there. They help us with product development, finding factories, all those sorts of.
That's crucial.
And also making sure that all the factories we use are socially compliant, which for us is a huge thing. Making sure that their workers are paid properly, they're in they're in a good working environment and earn the right money and all those sorts of things.
So what's Anthem's strategy to market? You're using showrooms, obviously other dealerships, workwear sites, online. How does it work?
Our distribution strategy, it's primarily focused around wholesale. So, workwear is very much what I define as a needs-based purchase. So it's very different to fashion. You see something you're like, I really want to have that. I've got to have it. I don't want to buy that because I like the look of it, or I like the fit or the cut or that brand. So it's a more of an emotional purchase when it's fashion, because it's not. Because it's something that you want to have. Whereas workwear is a little bit different. It's what we define as a needs-based purchase. So you need it for work. I need a pair of work pants, or I need a high-vis shirt, or I need a jacket, and I need it for the work site. So generally speaking, the broader market, the large portion of the workwear market is sold through still traditional brick and mortar. And that's because, tradies generally replace product when it's worn out. So my boots are fucked, or my pants I've got a hole in my pants.
Yep.
I've got to go buy a pair today. And whilst there is an online element to workwear that exists, still, I would say 90% of the market or more would still be done in brick and mortar.
And people still like trying stuff on.
Yes.
I mean, I'm no good at buying clothes online. Every time I buy something online, if I think I'm a medium, whatever I bought is too small. So then the next time I buy large, then it's too big.
Yeah.
So people still want to, and tradies are out on the road a lot.
They are.
So they're able to pop in. We're able to pop into a bricks and mortar workwear store and try things on.
Yeah, that's right. And so, there's still around, I think there's around 900 workwear sort of specific retail stores around the country. I mean, our ambition isn't being all of those. Well,
you need to be strategic, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're very much positioned as this brand as being a premium workwear brand, and we're very selective with the stockists we try to sell to. And first and foremost, they need to be able to be a retailer that can represent brands well and retail the product as it should be retailed. So that's a big one for us. And we try to align with partners. So, key partners, so like Totally Workwear, Man Cave, Roadhouse, we're in Hip Pocket, we're in some Work Locker stores, and we've got some key online retailers like Workwear Hub, which is a great customer of ours too. So they're all what we define as premium workwear stockists. We've been selective about, we've been approached by hardware and tool suppliers to sell our brand and our product in those spaces. But for us, we don't feel that those are spaces where people would represent our brand well and uphold the value of the brand that we're trying to create. So we've stayed out of those spaces strategically.
And we know that, some of the larger, say home improvement stores and things like that, they haven't really got the trained personnel that would really be able to focus on spending time with somebody to fit the right product to them.
Yeah.
So you need to be careful, I suppose.
Very much there. That's more of a self-service environment. And for our brand, we're more technical, and for somebody who's, maybe experienced our brand for the first time, we want them to try it on, notice how it feels different and how the fit feels different and the fabrics feel different, which if you're in an environment where, you can't try something on, how do you do that? Yep. How does this salesperson execute that? They can't. So for us, that was, a big part of choosing where we sold the product and where it went.
Yep.
Look, we sell online too. And, online for us, we have a dedicated customer out there that does want to shop directly with us. And if I'm honest, we needed online from the beginning to help us from that cash flow perspective, because from a wholesale perspective, there's terms. Yeah. So, you talk about cash flow, you have to pay for the stock up front, then you sell it to your customer. And then, with their terms, you might not see that money for another 60 days. So it's a long period of time between paying for the stock and collecting money from the customers. And so for us, online gave us the ability to see incoming cash flow sooner, and it enabled us to, keep the business going through those periods. So
it's really interesting that you bring that up, because cash flow is the bugbear of so many businesses.
Yeah.
And especially when you're starting up, you have to carry a certain amount of stock. Now, a lot of people always say that first order is the easy one.
Yeah.
Then you run out of a certain size in something, you can't just buy another 2 boxes. All of a sudden, you're working out to fill up another container to bring in more stock, because you don't want to lose that customer who's doing really well with that pair of pants or that shorts or whatever it is. So that replenishing of stock all the time is the challenge for any business.
It is, yeah, it is. And, you mentioned it. So, factories always there'll be a minimum quantity that you have to buy for them to do a production run if it's something unique. And, as you mentioned, if we're out of a size, what we would call the fringe size, which are the smaller sizes or larger sizes, there would be lower quantities in sales in them. If we run out for us, if we run out of a size 40, for instance, in a pair of pants for us, but all of our other stock is fine across the curve of, sizes we have, but as a business, we're committed to being in stock all the time.
Yep.
So then we have to go back and buy the factory minimum, which, which we do.
That's a commitment.
You got to have the cash
Yep.
available to do that. So
I want to touch on stock and warehousing for a minute there. So did you look at, because I know a lot of my listeners will be curious, did you look at a 3PL option to say, okay, well, instead of getting a big warehouse and carrying all this stock ourselves and then becoming our own distribution, why don't we use a third party? They'll carry it. Okay, sure. They're going to take a clip. They're going to charge me a fee to do that. But then I don't have the staff. I don't have to have the square meterage. I don't have to have the forklift. Did you look at 3PL?
Yeah. So look, when we initially started, we had the view that we'd do it ourselves. And then the challenge came when we moved into our second warehouse. We started at growing that space, and, for anyone who operates a business and has had to move, it's a shit experience. It's obviously the time and effort involved in moving, the
disruption
to the business, the costs associated with it and all that stuff. And so at that stage, we started looking into a 3PL. And
for those that don't know, third-party logistics. So storing your stock that you bring in somebody else's warehouse. And these businesses carry hundreds of different brands and run the software as well, I think.
Yeah. So, the whole manages the whole order processing part of it, the shipping of the orders, receiving stock. And so look, we looked at it, and for us, it was almost worked out to be the same cost.
Yep. But with less control.
With a bit less control. And so the thing with the unknown thing is, because workwear is such a stock heavy industry, so with 3PL, you pay a storage fee, and it's like a pallet cost a week or a month. I can't remember exactly. It was a few years ago that we looked at it. And that was a bit of the unknown cost. We had to sort of guesstimate. And
you mean for scaling as the business gets bigger?
Business scaling. So the majority of the warehouse space that's taken up in our current warehouse is reserve stock sitting on pallets in racking because we're committed to carrying a certain number of months cover.
Yep.
And so for us, we're paying a flat number for our rent in our warehouse. So the space we use.
You know your cost.
We know our cost.
It's coming every month.
But as our business has been growing, and we've been growing rapidly, for us we struggled to work out what that cost was going to be, that pallet rate, because we were bringing in more and more and more. So whilst we sort of, as we were able to estimate what we thought the costs were going to be, it wasn't concrete. Whereas at least in our own warehouse, we knew what the rep was going to be. We knew how many staff we had. We knew there was some capital costs in adding more racking, and as we grew, we needed more space to put things away. So it was cost neutral, but then also, the other reason why we decided to do it ourselves was I like, at least for the moment, the ability to, have a customer and say, hey, Duncan, can you send me this? Or your online ordering portal showing this is out of stock, go and check it. Or, luckily we haven't had many of these, but, a customer rings me and says, there's a product fault, the manufacturing fault. I can send my team in there. I can go in there. We can check the stock, can try to make sure it's okay, or if it's not, act and deal with it accordingly.
Well, I think like many business owners, I know my case as well. I'm a bit of a control freak.
Yeah.
I like to be able to just walk out into the warehouse, do a physical count of something, or unbox something, check it. There's an issue that a customer's had. We want to unbox it. We want to have a look at it, and we can assess it immediately. So I think there's a portion of control.
Yeah, and control's a big one. And it's being able to, adapt and move. And I think having a bit of a competitive edge as well, and having that speed and response time to customers as well. So
you lose the scalability in the sense that when you're with a 3PL, you can just go and pick up 20 pallets, and then all of a sudden they're going to charge you for 20 pallets less, okay? As opposed to you've got a warehouse, you can take those pallets wherever you like, but you're still paying the rent.
Yeah.
So you do lose that. There's pros and cons, but it's interesting. Every business needs to look at their own business and see, how would that work for me?
Yeah.
Does that work for me? It works for some, doesn't work for others.
Yeah. Well, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'd love to be in a position where we didn't have the labor intensive warehouse to manage, because it's labor intensive. We're not at the scale where we have huge teams of people that can turn up and unload a container. You know, when a container arrives, it's all hands on deck. I'm out there, our marketing team's out there, our bookkeepers out there, like all our sales teams out there. We're all out there unloading the stock, because all of that stock comes out of that container. Is stock that customers need, and so the quicker we can turn it around, the better. But it's labor intensive work, and it's lifting and it's carrying, and so obviously with that is an element of, you know, additional risk that we carry as a business, because it's manual labor. So that's always, you know, in the back of my mind, and try to make sure we're doing things properly, and you know, making sure we're not, you know, creating circumstances where somebody could hurt themselves. So we've invested in forklifts and ways of filling things to make it easier. So there's that extra element, you know, doing it yourself. That's, I guess, the challenge that it creates when you're doing it yourself.
You touched on labor and workforce, which I think is perfect timing for me to bring up AI.
Yep.
Every business knows about it.
Yep. Every
business thinks, is it really going to replace all my staff? Or you know, we're a very hands-on business. AI is not for us. So there's a lot of businesses out there that they're not entirely sure of its capabilities. You know, and we're not talking about basic, I'm going to download ChatGPT and type in, please write me a employment contract for a new salesperson.
Yeah.
You know, sure, that's the easy side, but it is growing and it is snowballing at a pace which, I'm not a tech guy, but from what I am hearing, this thing is getting smarter and smarter every single day.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And businesses that are very much, we all immediately think about call centers. We always think about repetitive jobs.
Yeah.
So we think about, okay, so I work for a huge company, I answer the phone and I'm helping people fix their internet. Okay. So we know that AI is already in that space and replacing jobs. I know I'm thinking about it now, and I'm starting to educate myself, and I'm starting to watch some YouTube videos and things about how AI can help me from a marketing point of view. And Yash is laughing at me over there in the background because he does all my socials, does all my digital marketing, and obviously part of the Scottie G Show is we're increasing now our digital content. So there's some really cool stuff available now. So people can literally go onto these platforms. They can select an actor, or they can actually do filming of themselves, feed it content, and all of a sudden it will be a promotional video of an actor or yourself talking about a product, or like amazing stuff out there. So from a marketing point of view, it's changing so fast. What are you guys currently doing in that digital marketing space and content creation? How do you get content? How do you attract that buyer? So for you, it's that workwear.
Look, for us, so content. I mean, so we've got a digital marketing team member. Her name's Dana. She's amazing. So she's a big portion of her role is focusing on creating content for social media, and it's. We're not at the stage where we're using much from an AI perspective that I'm aware of in that space. We are using AI in some other areas, which I'll tell you about. But I mean, a big part of her role is, you know, curating content for each of the social media platforms that are out there, because the way that content is viewed by people who are on each of those platforms, they're expecting a different experience. So you can't just create that same bit of content and just blast it out across Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and expect the same result across each. So the language is a bit different. The look and feel needs to be a little bit different. And so she spends a lot of time working on all of those aspects. We're even started, we've launched on Pinterest recently. We're going to start using LinkedIn a little bit more. But yeah, so it's trying to understand, or having a good understanding and awareness of what's going to drive the best engagement on each of the platforms. And that's, I guess, the biggest part of her job and what she does. In terms of how we use AI at the moment, most of it is like operational stuff. So we use an ERP system called Sin7, and they've actually recently launched some AI tools within that function. So really interesting. So the first one, we talked about the importance of stock availability and stuff in workwear. I mean, it's the same in a lot of industries. So they've introduced this stock planning and forecasting tool, which is driven by AI. And we're one of the first companies, I think that one of the first companies around the world that have launched into it with them. And so it uses all different sorts of algorithms to determine and looks at sales history trends. And it gives you a forecast by style, by SKU of what potentially the product will sell in terms of volume, and it will give you a recommendation on how much you should buy. So,
which is a really good point that you raised, because when we talk about AI, it's not necessarily walking into your business and going, okay, you, and you're gone. I'm replacing you with an AI bot. What you're saying is you can actually be looking at third-party companies that you're already dealing with or not dealing with, and how are they utilizing AI? And then the way that they utilize AI then benefits me in my business, as opposed to a direct replacement. You're gone.
Well, the other one, so the other tool that our Sin7's created too is this, I think about, like I'm always looking at, like you would do with your business, you're always looking at trying to find efficiencies in the business. And, particularly when an area is becoming overworked, or maybe they're struggling to meet, the standards or the timeframes we wanted to do things. And for us, we're wanting to turn orders around quickly. In a 24-hour period, when a customer sends us an order, it's keyed, processed, shipped, and the freight's booked. We want that to happen in 24-hour period.
Time is crucial.
Right, getting stock out back into stores as quickly as possible.
Dude walks in, wants to buy a pair of shorts there and then. If he hasn't got it, he hasn't got it. He's not buying a pair of Anthem shorts if they're not on the shelf.
That customer goes in to buy a pair of Anthem shorts and they don't have it. Usually, as I said before, it's because his shorts are blown out.
Yeah. And
he can't get his Anthem shorts, so he's got to buy something else and a different brand. So anyway, we were looking at maybe employing a customer service person, and obviously, there's a cost associated with that. We looked at maybe employing a customer service in Manila or other countries, but actually they've incorporated this AI tool I looked at the function of what the team were doing. And so what was taking them a lot of time each day was actually keying orders. So customers, we have an ordering portal that customers can use, but not all customers want to use it because they've created a purchase order in their own system. They don't want to necessarily jump on our portal, key it again.
Yep.
So,
because they're looking at their own time as well.
Correct, right? So it's who's going to allocate the time, us or them.
Yep.
And so anyway, the long story short is they've created this AI tool which reads a customer's purchase order. So you upload a PDF.
Yep.
And it reads who the customer is, the address, their purchase order number, and all the styles.
And then enters that data.
One of my team members still needs to review all the information and make sure it's accurate.
Yeah. But that might only be a little bit of tweaking. So basic tweaking.
So basic tweaking. It's not perfect. They're still working on it, but and we've given them some feedback on some changes. So there's things that tool isn't learning perfectly. So, not every customer's loaded our product codes in their system the same way as we've set them up. So they might add a numeral or a letter to the style code. So it's trying to work out how the system can learn. So when that is uploaded, it automatically knows that this code equals that code. So anyway, they're still tweaking it, but there's some cool things like that, which, my team is spending probably 2 or 3 hours a day keying orders. So if we could speed that up, halve it,
We're talking a lot of hours.
right, that's potentially going to save me putting someone on in customer service to do that role. And so I think it's not necessarily about removing people either. It's for us, it's as our business grows, it's how can we better support the team and create efficiencies where we're not having to add headcount to do it or another role. It's AI is taking over that role or speeding up the process as the technology gets better. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, it's like us in our business, in the steel fabrication side of what we do, buying a laser machine to cut steel componentry out. Now, we didn't sack the guy that was making those parts before.
Yeah.
He oversees that machine and he's got time to do something else now.
Yeah.
So again, efficiencies.
Correct. Yeah, for sure.
So maintaining a strong culture at work. What do you guys do at Anthem in terms of ensuring that you're keeping happy staff?
Look, lots of different things. I mean, I think we're well beyond, just the pizza and stuff like that on a Friday. And I mean, we do those things, but for us, it's about sharing the vision and making sure we're all aware of what the goals are, what we're trying to achieve as a business, what's happening, what's coming up, making sure everyone feels like they're part of the journey is a big one for me. I've worked in various businesses where, some of my managers have done that really well and some of them haven't. And I know the managers that I've had great relationships with the past are the ones that are transparent. And, sometimes you can't be transparent about everything, but I try to be as much as I can. But the ones that have been open and transparent and shared what all the business goals are, and, I felt like I'm playing a much bigger role in that business. And so, yeah, for me, it's about, making sure that, we share, all the objectives of the business. That's a big one.
Make them feel a part of it.
Yeah. Celebrating the successes. Yeah. So along the journey, when we've hit our numbers, hit our sales budgets, we've had, I've given, financial rewards to team members if I think that they've done an amazing job, or we've had, we've thrown great parties, or, and making sure that at each, we're celebrating our successes often, whether it's our biggest sales month, which we've had lots of those, over the journey. So,
right.
Last month was our biggest month we've ever had as a brand. So this month we're going to do something pretty fun as a team. So, I think it's lots of different things, but I think, it's celebrating the successes. I think it's also not about just success. It's also being clear and open about feedback when things aren't going great as well. I think, even as a business owner and a manager, being open to feedback about myself, if I'm not doing things well too, I think I don't want to create an environment where people are afraid to tell me how they feel.
Yep.
So for me, it's all of those things.
Well, look, when I was talking about AI, the world we know it today, whether it be just in socially, culturally, business is going to be completely different.
Yeah.
In 5 years' time, business is going to be completely different. And that's why I touch on AI, because I'm at and maybe you as well, I'm at just the very tip of the iceberg. I don't understand the impacts and how quickly this is changing. So I'm trying to educate myself at the age I am. I'm not a super old man, and I'm not a young spring chicken anymore. I'm somewhere in the middle there, and I need to know what's going on for my business for the future.
Yeah.
I need to know what's going on. How can AI help me? Because the reason why I bring it up, people are always just thinking at the moment, replaces call centers. I've got a hands-on service, I've got a technician in a van. He's not going to be replaced by a robot. No, but it's not what we're talking about. We're talking about there's so many. It'll happen one day, but we're talking about so many different parts of the business where it can work. And I'm really glad you brought up external companies as well, third party, because selecting a third party to collaborate with as part of your business, how are they using AI? Yeah. It's really, really important. Sure. So what are some of the new and exciting initiatives for Anthem? What are we going to see over the next 12 months?
we've got quite a few cool things happening. You know, we've got lots of new products. We're about to launch our winter collection. So we've got a cracking puffer jacket, waterproof puffer jacket that's coming out. It's got oiling on the inside, which sort of designed to reflect your body heat, a little bit like a hypothermia blanket. You know, they wrap you up when you
the shiny ones.
Yeah, so you know, it's got that foiling on the inside. So it's a really technical outerwear that we're doing. We're seeing a bit of an opportunity to grow out into that sort of active wear, almost outdoorish sort of product in workwear space. So we've launched a couple of new products recently. One is a work pant. We've called it the Agility Pant. It uses 2 different weights of fabric. So sort of a more durable fabric in areas where you need more durability, and a lighter weight fabric in areas, so like behind the knee, the back of the yoke of the pant, where, you know, that's areas, you know, you get sweaty behind your knee and the top of your butt gets sweaty when you're working. So that's a lighter weight, more breathable fabric. You know, we use Cordura over the knees. The fit, it's quite a modern fit. It's targeted at a younger customer we're wearing slimmer fit pants now, but younger customers at the moment wanting, not in workwear, not baggy, but they're wanting a more of a looser fit now. So it's always tricky. You know, you've always got to be aware of, you know, what that next customer is looking for. And
we're not allowed to wear skinny jeans, by the way. But we're not. If I wear skinny jeans now, I'm not cool anymore.
Yeah. And it's probably a sign, you know, young people, they're like, that guy's old, he's wearing skinny pants.
It's a big red flag.
So that's a really exciting product. But then we're doing some other, what we're really trying to do with Anthem is build a community around the brand. So later this year, we're launching a running club. It's an Anthem running club. So, and the whole idea about that, it's going to be a free club to join. We're going to try to bring together like-minded tradespeople and people in the industry who want to stay fit and try to create an environment where it's fun, positive, and
healthy.
Yeah. So, you know, and we'll purposely set the running clubs up on a Sunday morning. So, you know, they try to keep you honest on a Saturday night. Don't get too pissed or too trolley. You know, making sure that, you know, if you've committed to something, you know what it's like. You train, you go to the gym like myself. Once you're committed to something, you know, it's always in the back of your mind when, when you're out with friends or whatever, if you're committed to something that next day, whether it's a run or whatever it is, you know, you're much more likely to look after yourself so that you can wake up and do that thing you committed to the next day. So yeah, the running club was super excited about. We've wanted to do something that brings community, our customer together.
That's great.
So yeah, watch your space. We've had the logos done. We're getting the format sorted now. We're hoping to launch it. It'll be coming to summer.
Fantastic.
So that's pretty exciting. Yeah.
I love hearing businesses think outside the square a little bit, and you hit the nail on the head with the word community.
Yep.
Which is, you know, something that I'm trying to achieve with this pod.
Yep.
Create a community where people can tune in, listen, ask questions, learn, and at the end of the day, better their lives, whatever it may be, to better their lives.
Yep.
Hence why I bring cool and inspiring people on, such as yourself, because that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Look, we've known each other a long time. I'm gonna ask you a question. I'm gonna throw it on you. I've been on your website.
Yeah.
You've done some fantastic photo shoots. Why have you never asked me to be a model? I'm not laughing.
I can't afford you.
I'm not laughing.
No, the problem is I can't afford you.
You didn't even
Open up, mate.
But you didn't even ask me for a proposal, like not even a fee proposal, nothing. How do you know?
So there's a reason why. I mean, you're good looking enough, get in there here, but we actually
and I genuinely wear it all the time.
You do. And actually, I mean, you are on the tools a bit. You know, obviously you've had your construction business and you've been on the tools. So we've used one of your websites for a photo shoot.
You have? That's the best photo shoot you've ever done on one of my developments.
But we want photography in our brand to be as authentic as possible. And I was going to say try, but we're not trying to be authentic. We are an authentic workwear brand, and we believe for that authenticity to shine through, we have to use, and we should be using tradespeople, actual tradespeople.
Makes sense.
So all of the models, male and female, that we use in our shoots are actual tradespeople, carpenters, plumbers, builders, whatever it is. And so that's essentially how we.
Good. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, thank you I think we're almost about out of time. But thank you so much for joining the Scottie G Show.
My pleasure, mate.
You've come on as I'm going to say only my second person that I'm interviewing, because I couldn't have you as the first. And I think you know why. I had to have wifey as the first. But you are my first, let's call it, non-family member. So thank you so much for coming on board. I hope the viewers have got a lot of insight into what you've done and what you've achieved. And I know I'm super proud of you, not only as a friend, but just listening to your story about someone who's gone out there, taken the plunge, put their on the line, and said, you know what, I'm going to have a real crack at this. And I hope only the best for Anthem Workwear, and it becomes the biggest workwear apparel brand.
Scottie G Show, mate.
Well, we never know. We never know where this is going to go.
Awesome.
I've got a fancy light box, so I'm on the right track.
It was fun. It was good. Thank you. No, and all the best to you, mate. All the best to you.
No, thank you. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Scottie G Show. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. The more engagement we get into this community, the more opportunities I have to get awesome guests on like Duncan, get other entrepreneurs on to share their stories. We'll be talking about all sorts of different things about life and health and business and relationships. Sky's the limit where we can take this pod. Thank you for engaging, and looking forward to seeing you soon.